Two boxes showed up at my door on the 25th. One was the SAMYANG AF14-24mm F2.8 for L mount, a lens that I've been waiting on since it was announced. I'm a SAMYANG ambassador, so I got early access to it. But let me say this upfront and I'll only say it once. Nobody tells me what to shoot, what to say, or how I feel about a piece of glass. The footage that you're about to see will speak for itself. The other box. I wasn't sure I was going to make it in time. I needed a camera that could match this lens for the shoot I had coming, so I reached out to Lumix Australia on a very short notice. Massive shout out to Oli who pushed it through and got the S1IIE for me just in time. Without that call, none of this happens. So, the lens I wanted to test, the camera it deserved to be on, and a deadline, the 30th. 5 days to shoot a full promo video for the 14-24. Using only one lens, 14-24. Here's what we made.
Your husband is coming.
What you just watched was shot entirely on one lens, the SAMYANG 14-24 f2.8 for L mount, paired with the Lumix S1IIE, and everything you saw, the space, the movement, the model, the flares, all of it from 14-24mm. Nothing else touched the camera that day. I want to walk you through how the day actually went, what worked immediately, what required intention, and what surprised me, because some of it genuinely did. This isn't my first time with this lens. I've been shooting with the SAMYANG 14-24 on E-mount for more than 1 year. Premium real estate, fashion, editorial work, this focal length has been on the front of my camera for a lot of that. And not just as a creative experiment, as a professional tool in jobs where the image have to hold up, where clients are paying for quality. It's earned its place in my kit at the highest level. But when the L mount version was announced, I already knew what this lens could do on Sony. The question I wanted to answer was different. Does it translate? Different camera body, different autofocus system, different color science. Does the performance carry across? Not on a tripod in a car park, but on a real shoot under real conditions with results that have to be good enough to put your name on. So I brought it to the kind of work I know, the conditions where I already trusted the E-mount version, and I gave it no excuses. Here is what an ultra-wide does that nothing else can. At 40mm, space breathes. A room that feels ordinary in real life suddenly has scale, depth, dimension. You're not just documenting space, you're making it feel like somewhere people want to be. In real estate work, that's not a trick, that's the deliverable. And that same quality, the way this focal length stretches and expands everything around it, is exactly what makes it interesting for fashion and editorial work too. Place the subject in the environment at 14mm and the world feels built around them. The scale does the storytelling before you've done anything else. But shooting people at ultra-wide is a creative problem. And that problem is exactly where the intentional decisions live. Distortion doesn't sit evenly across the frame, it lives at the edges. The center is clean, so the discipline is this: keep your subject centered or close to it and let the environment do what ultra-wide does. The world curves around and stretches around subjects that stays clean. The contrast is the look. It gives the subject weight and presence in a space that feels bigger than reality. Angles matter in the same way. Every centimeter of the camera position is a creative decision at this focal length. A low angle, done right, gives you environmental drama you cannot replicate at 35 or 50mm. Done wrong, it's just distortion with no purpose. High angles work the same. The wider the lens, the more deliberate you have to be. There is no room for lazy framing here, and honestly, that's what I love about it. And then there is the practical conflict, one that has nothing to do with composition and everything to do with how lenses in this focal range are designed. Most ultra-wide zooms at 40mm has a bulky front element. You cannot put a filter on them, full stop. If you want to shoot with an ND on a bright day or polarizer or mist filter, whatever you want to put on, you're either buying a clip-on system that mounts awkwardly on the outside of the lens, or a proprietary filter holder that costs serious money and never quite feels like it belongs there. It's always a workaround, and on a professional shoot, workarounds slows you down. The 14-24 on the other hand has a standard 77 front millimeter thread. You screw on whatever you need, same as any other lens you have in your bag. On location, in changing light when you need to pull a filter and keep moving. That is not a small thing. So here's what the day actually taught me. Not theory, practice. Things that worked out in real time on a real shoot with the clock running. The first thing, working with the distortion instead of against it. Once I stopped trying to avoid what the lens does and started using it as a compositional tool, exaggerating the scale of a space, making the environment feel larger than real life, placing a subject so the world bends around them, the shots started happening. The lens rewards you when you think in terms of what it amplifies, not what it limits. Second, leading lines are your best friend at 14mm. Every corridor, every road, every architectural edge at this focal length, they converge hard. Position the subject at the point where the lines meet the frame directs to the viewer's eye without you having to do anything else. I started looking for lines before I looked for anything else when I go on the shoot. It changes how you read a location. Third, auto distortion correction in camera. Enable it. I know some people prefer to handle in post for more control, and that's valid, but I'm not a fix in post kind of guy. On the running gun shoot, where you need to see clean results on the monitor and make decision fast, having the barrel distortion corrected in camera means your straight lines stay straight and you can trust what you're looking at. This was the one I was most uncertain about going on it. Tracking a moving subject on a moving gimbal with a wide lens, that's a lot of variables in play at once. The S1IIE with the 14-24 handled it without drama. It locked, it tracked, it stays locked, it stays focused. The combination gave me shots I couldn't have got any other way. And fifth, the flares. Shooting into a light source with most lenses is a gamble. You take whatever the optics gives you. With the 14-24, I found I could actually place the flare, position the sun just behind the subject or at the edge of a structure, and it lands in a way that reads as intentional. It adds to a frame rather than degrading it. After a full day with this lens, here's where I landed. The L-mount version performs at the same level as the E-mount version. Same sharpness, same character, same ability to make a frame feel like it has intention behind it. Whatever I trusted the Sony version to do in a professional shoot, this one matched it. The other focus on the S1IIE is a genuine pairing for this lens. It doesn't fight the wide field of view, it works with it. And the in-camera processing, the colors, the dynamic range, everything that came out of the camera on the day required very minimal work to get where it needs to be. Shout again to Goldy and Lumix Australia for making that happen. In terms of where this lens lives in a working kit, if you shoot real estate, this is a natural. The scale exaggeration is exactly what that works calls for. And the filter thread means you can use the same ND workflow as everything else in your bag without adapting around the lens. If you shoot fashion or editorial and you want environmental storytelling, wide dramatic, establishing shots, subject in the world frames, this gives you something that a 35 or 50 simply cannot. If you shoot travel on the other hand, or documentary, running gun, anything, the size and the weight of this lens for a 14-24 at f2.8 aperture is generally compact. You feel the difference on a full day shoot, you feel it on a gimbal. That compactness is not a spec, it's a quality of life decision, non-location. And the 77 front millimeter thread remains the thing I keep coming back to when I think about what sets this lens apart from the competition at this focal length. It sounds like a small detail, but on a shoot, trust me, it's not small at all. I'll link to everything in the description, the lens, the S1IIE and the full promo film from the day if you want to watch it in one piece. If you've got any questions about the lens, about shooting ultra wide, people or spaces, or anything about the Lumix S1IIE, leave them below. I'll read all of them and I'll get back to you.